What's up, guys? Time to show off a new build. Did some kind of old stuff that I used to do and a little bit of the new stuff, and came up with this, and hopefully you guys like it. Sorry if you end up seeing the sides of my hands here. I decided to put my hand up clay pipe and try and clear out drains that roots had grown in there. And the clay pipe, once you get in further, was also cracked, so I was doing this trying to get stuff, so busted up my hands all the way around, and it's been a great time. So can't get away from that. So if you see that, it's just me from a few days ago. So as I was referencing, this is kind of some new, kind of some old. We have a Red 5 watchwork style from my buddy Ron. This is a compass style, unlike any that you've seen me do before. This is very detailed, has some really cool look to it. Deep engraved brass. And I put this in a 160 brushed case. I did lug extensions on it because the strap I put on it was nice and thick, and it just kind of stuck in there and didn't have any play. And most of these canvas and leather straps are about a ½ inch shorter than like what most of my normal straps are. These are the ones that I used to use back in 2020 and 2021, and I found that I had like 5 or 6 put back and thought, hey, I should bring one of those back out. So I went around the strap and went around the dial and then did the rest off of that. So lug extensions there. The lug extensions were actually very tight as well going in, so if you ever want to take those out, it might be a little tough for you to get them back in. I had to walk them in without inserting it into the pinhole on the case. I had to just drop it straight down to where you had overlap on both sides, pull that in, and then barely push it on there to where it's just keeping it compressed, and then use a little rubber mallet and tap this down and then line it up until they clicked in. The tolerance is maybe like a fraction of 1 millimeter. It's probably right at like 22.000 something, because I got them in there. So clearly it fits, but you normally want them like a fraction under 22 so that you can put one side in and then slide the other side in, which will, when it comes at an angle, it's actually just slightly longer until it swoops down in, and there was no room for that. So very, very tight, but now you have that play in it. You can put it in a watch winder, or I'm sorry, in a watch roll so much easier now because it can fold back on itself. So took a vintage brass bezel, took the style that's not brass when I get it, had to remove everything from it, age it, sand it slightly, and just leave it as is. So this was a brass bezel from probably late 80s, 90s, that was covered in like a chrome that we had to remove. So brush case, brushed lug extensions, standard crown. This is an actual manufactured caseback. You can tell by the circles. The ones I do are actually being grinded in a one angle. We're not putting it on a machine that's doing that kind of action. So nice clean caseback on that. And then since we did a brass bezel and an actual brass style, I did an actual brass buckle on here. This is just a matte style keeper. Everything else is brushed. And then I didn't want nice and shiny silver hands, so I used some ager on them, which kind of gives it like a gunmetal-esque color. I didn't like soak them in it. I just brushed it on a few times just to give them an aged look. And they actually came out pretty uniform. And I wasn't going for that. I was just kind of going for like, oh, those hands have seen some things. And I got actually like, they just turned the color that would be like nice and solid. You can tell a little bit in that one that sometimes you get a little bit of shine on some parts and not shine on another. So I mean, I guess that could be an indication that it wasn't manufactured. But you know how they normally come. They're nice and brighter and shinier, and I thought, well, if we're going to have matte and rough and rustic and brass, probably shouldn't have very shiny hands. So, vintage bezel, band I used to use back 2-3 years ago, with a new style dial that I've never done before. So a little bit of old, a little bit of new. So hopefully you guys like it. Automatic mechanical. You can wind it, you can wear it, you can put it in a watch winder. But if it's dead or you're not going to be very active, make sure you wind it just a little bit. Especially right before you put it on, because you want to make sure you're keeping time throughout the day. So what you'll do with that is you're going to back the crown off the threads until you hear it and feel it clicking. And at that point, you'll wind. And a wind is a turn this way. Turning it towards you doesn't wind it, but it's a lot easier to keep your finger spacing and go back and forth, which is what I do to make sure that I'm not rethreading it back on that tube. So 4 or 5 seconds of that before you put it on, mix with the rotor movement in the back, will keep your time throughout the day. You just want to wind it a little bit, because you doubt you're going to just put your watch on and start flailing your arms around to wind it. So do a little bit of that. If you're going to be at a desk or driving all day, wind it for another 10-15 seconds. Max out your 31-hour power reserve. Can't hurt anything. But I just do the aggressive back and forth. When you're good with your winding, you're going to pull it to the one and only click. And you can now set your time. This does not have a hacking movement, so it's going to keep going on you. You'll also notice you don't have any indices on here. Your indices, you're just going to have to base off this. Line that up with your 15 if you can't really tell in the middle of north and south, or I guess west has a good one because it has a good arrow there. It's probably your best indicator because even E doesn't really have a good one there. Okay, Google, what time is it?
It's 1:13 p.m.
1:13, so a little bit closer to that one than that one. Over half. You're going to push it over, get it out of that time setting, and then wind it down. You also might have noticed you had a wobble crown there. This deflects lateral pressure from going into the stem and into the movement, so when you're pushing and prying on it, you're not putting any adverse pressure on the movement or the keyless works. And that is the build. As with every build, you're going to get matching beads. We had beads set back for so long that go with this nicely. This will come in a BBW Special Edition box. Nice brown stained box. Will come with watch cleaner. This is good on all glass and metal. So everything here in the center, non-streaking, non-toxic, non-residue, as well as your microfiber. You're also going to get some leather conditioner. This will keep that strap perfectly soft. Now the canvas, you don't want to put it on the canvas. So you're going to put it on this one, on the front and back, and on this one on the back. So if it's ever not as pliable as you like, or 9 times out of 10 we don't ever have any issues with my leather actually ever needing this. But I like to supply anything I can that can help you, so maybe some of your other stuff. But if you would ever need it, front and back, just the back, you can put some on that pad if you want, but that's not going to do anything for you. But use a rag, use a cloth, don't use a microfiber. And then lastly, you're going to have some fine scratch remover. This is Novus 2 from Amazon, just repackaged. It is like Poly Watch, and it's for your acrylic glass. You can scratch it. If you do, you'll put a tiny, tiny bit of this on it, and you'll buff it out using this microfiber. Just go across the scratch. You're filling that scratch. Don't go with the scratch. Go against the scratch to fill it. And then kind of buff it out a little bit. See if it's still there. If it is, wait a little bit and then come back to it. You are essentially relayering that back up. And you're you're fixing it, but you're also kind of masking it. But that will polish that acrylic back up. So if this watch is going to you, congrats. I hope you love it. Thank you so much, Ron, for getting me that dial. And that's the build. If you want me to build you something custom and unique, reach out and I'll see what I can do. And if you want to continue to see videos like this, like and subscribe as I put them up all the time. Thanks, guys.